Hello, my dear friends. In this video, you will learn about the upcoming new moon and solar eclipse in Taurus. It comes on the 30th of April, Saturday, around 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, it can affect us not just for this day, but actually for a pretty long time. How long does the solar eclipse affect our life? This is a big question, but overall it's considered that the impact can be observed within 6 months up to 3 years in some cases. So it's worth it to pay attention to this and also to understand how we can use this energy. So we will start with the general things about solar eclipses, about this particular eclipse in Taurus, but then also I will guide you through the more specific things, like, for example, the fact that we also have Pluto stationary and changing direction exactly at the same time. Also, the astrology configuration that we currently have on this eclipse, plus some other interesting things that can help you to have a better understanding of this energy and to be able to apply this in the most constructive way in your life. So let's get started. First of all, keep in mind that this is the first eclipse from 3. We generally experience this. Some astrologers call this a corridor of eclipses. So basically we have a solar eclipse now. In 2 weeks, there will be a lunar eclipse, and another 2 weeks later, there will be another solar eclipse. So within this 1 month, we have a more accentuated energy, more dynamic and specific energy. Some people tend to feel this as something scary or terrible or like awful, which is not necessarily true. So it's very important to stay away from those kind of like scary thoughts and expectations. Eclipses are very powerful, but they are not doing anything to us. This is an energy, a specific type of energy that comes to us. But how we process that, what we do with that, is a totally different question. So for some people, this can be a time of insights, a time of innovations, recharging oneself. And especially with this solar eclipse, I think that those will be some really valid options to consider innovating, to consider something new in your life or taking a new direction. Why am I saying this? Because first of all, this lunar eclipse, it's a solar eclipse, triggers the North Node. So that is actually the definition of a solar eclipse. It's a regular new moon, which means conjunction between sun and moon, plus one of the lunar nodes. This time we have the North Node in conjunction. So the North Node is about the future. It's about embracing something new. It's also getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of what you're used to do, and really embracing something new for yourself. So yeah, it might feel unknown, unfamiliar, maybe even a little scary, but it's a new opportunity. It's an opportunity for a new future. So it can be also very exciting and very constructive and can kind of like open new space for us. So that can be actually quite amazing. The other interesting thing is that Uranus is also in conjunction with the new moon and very close to the North Node as well. And Uranus is the planet of innovations, freedom, change, new perspectives, insights, wisdom. So it's really a time of rejuvenation, of recharging yourself, or I would say revealing parts about yourself that maybe you didn't suspect you have, or you have doubted, or maybe you have just neglected. But it's kind of like finding some inner resources within yourself that allow you also to make those important shifts or changes in your external life as well. But as we know, everything always starts from within. So it's a great time of possible change, new space, freedom in our lives. Now, what does it mean that the eclipse is happening in Taurus? So this energy is, of course, very accentuated. So we have Sun, Moon, Uranus there, and the North Node. So this energy should be embraced more. And this is a great time to really focus on being more grounded, being more in touch with reality, but not in a way that you feel stuck or limited by it, because Uranus there can support actually making this unique connection between, symbolically, the earth and the sky. So, but we shouldn't forget, of course, to keep this connection with the earth, with the practical side. And it's a wonderful time to pay attention to your body, to your physical energy, to your health, to practical things like money and other type of resources. Perhaps you can try a new approach regarding this area, or something interesting may provoke you to think in a new way, or you may have new ideas. So the area of resources, that is really essential. This is reminding me about something which I recently heard by Sadhguru. He has this initiative about saving the soil, and he made a very interesting point that the soil, the ground, the earth, it's not a resource. It's actually our source. So it's a very interesting way to look at it. And personally, for me, it resonates a lot. Like to think and feel about this, like how our beautiful planet, the earth, and everything that comes with it is not just a resource, but this is our source. Like we cannot exist without it. So to connect with the source is also another theme, because Taurus is the main sign that can also be related to the earth, to connecting with the ground, even the soil, like those concrete and practical things. So to connect with the source from inside, from the outside, in whatever way you want and can and would like to do that. This can help you to really feel connected with something that cannot expire, something that has no limitations. Because when we think about resources, there is a sense of some kind of scarcity, usually. But when we think about the source, usually there are no limitations there. This is never ending, it is there, and it's like a bond that is always there for us. So perhaps reframing things from this perspective, to connect with our source and not to look at things as like resources and think about scarcity, but rather like a source of never-ending energy and love and everything beautiful that we can experience here on the earth. So that's an interesting perspective, I think. Now, let me show you now how actually the chart looks like. You can see here, this is literally the chart of the solar eclipse. So here is our new moon, sun-moon conjunction with Uranus, with the North Node. And the first thing to mention is that Pluto is stationary. Actually, Pluto is turning retrograde very, very close to the time of this eclipse. So what this means is that we have even more intensity and even more abilities for transformation. Yes, the energy is powerful and maybe not easy to navigate, but the potential for transformations is absolutely amazing. So be mindful for this possible tension within you, but I also want to encourage you to reframe it as an energy of transformation, because it can really be also very constructive energy that we can direct into something practical. So the stationary phase of Pluto is kind of like an important background energy, which is also part of the whole picture. On top of that, if we look at the configuration of the eclipse, this type of positioning of the planets is called a bundle. When the planets are within 120 degrees or 1/3 of the chart, it's called a bundle. What is interesting about the bundle is that there is a lot of focus on the inside and not so much openness to the outside world. So that is totally fine. We shouldn't try to kind of like manipulate this or like forcefully fix it. Actually, I think it's much smarter to just go with it and be mindful about this. So the focus on the inside is much more important right now. And Pluto is what we call a first planet of the configuration, which means that there is a very strong impulse for transformation. On top of that, Pluto is stationary, so even more powerful. So the impulse for this big change, transformation, energy shift is extremely strong. The last planet of the configuration is Mercury, which means that this is more like what we can aim for or what can be kind of like a result for us. So Mercury is about the mind, the ideas, the communication, of course, with other people. So it's actually, I think, very important to keep our minds awakened and to find the right insights. So not to kind of like neglect the mind, neglect the thoughts, but actually to try to come up with some practical ideas. And practicality is actually very important now because we also have 4 planets in the earth signs. So the dominant elements are earth and water with this eclipse. So those are feminine signs. They are passive, they are magnetic. So it is important also to connect more with the feminine energy, which does not apply only to women. The feminine energy, first of all, everyone has it to a certain extent. Second of all, it's an energy of acceptance. It's the energy that contains. So this is very important right now, to contain our emotions, our thoughts, to focus on attracting and keeping whatever we want, not necessarily fighting or using force. Pay attention that we have no fire planets right now, literally zero fire energy. So it's not about fighting. It's not about pursuing, competing, using force. It's actually quite the opposite. It's attracting and being able to keep and contain. Another interesting point we have is that many of the planets are essentially very strong. Essentially, strong means in comfortable sign positions. Starting with the moon, which is in Taurus. This is an exalted position for the moon. Also, the ruler of the eclipse, which is Venus. Venus is in Pisces, so also exalted position. Then we have Neptune in Pisces as well. Neptune has been there for quite a long time. Jupiter also in Pisces, a sign that Jupiter rules. Saturn in Aquarius, a sign that Saturn rules. And even Mercury in Gemini, a sign of rulership. So basically, most of the planets are right now very, very resourceful and potentially beneficial. This is always a good thing because we can kind of like use this energy and there's like a higher potential to do so. And on top of that, even the aspect configuration, the main one, is also very beneficial. It's called a bisextile. We have Pluto trining Mercury and both of them having this sextile with Venus and Jupiter. Venus and Jupiter are in a position of focal point. That's how we call this. And it means that there is lots of energy that goes there and higher potential. And Venus is, first of all, the ruler of the eclipse. Second of all, it's one of the benefactors in astrology. Jupiter is the other benefactor. So they are not only essentially very strong, so not only in a very comfortable sign for both of them, but they are also receiving this supportive energy from Pluto and Mercury. So, in other words, what we can say is that this solar eclipse can be very beneficial. There are very positive energies, very constructive energies. And I think that one of the greatest things we can do is, again, be grounded, think about the practical things in life, think about how you can attract them rather than fight with the outside world for them. And whenever we have so much feminine energy, it's always also about the inner balance. Emotional, mental, spiritual, on every level. So in a soft way, I think we can go through some kind of important transformation, embrace something new, but we don't need to fight for it. We don't need to kind of like have battles with ourselves or with the external world. It's more about finding the peace within ourselves and also in the outside world. And this major concept about looking at the earth as our source, not our resource. So you might also want to check what is this eclipse triggering in your chart. To do so, you need to find where is the 11th degree of Taurus. The sun and the moon are on the 11th degree. The north node is on the 23rd degree in Taurus. So if you have planets, cusps of houses around this degree, this is also another indication that the eclipse can be very important for you. Okay, my friends, let me see, is there anything else to add? One more thing actually, which I want to add, is that we also have support coming from Mars. Mars is having a sextile with the sun and the moon. And this energy is actually very helpful also for finding more courage within ourselves. feeling motivated to take some action, but it should be in an inspired way. Mars right now is in Pisces. Actually, not a strong position for Mars, but nevertheless, it's still helpful energy. So, in a more creative, intuitive way, we can find a new direction, but also make certain steps in this direction, not just kind of like, remain in complete passiveness. So it really is about finding the balance of doing something, but not through pushing yourself to do it. You should do it if you feel the inner impulse, if you feel like this is making you inspired and motivated and more alive. So great opportunities are coming with this solar eclipse, and a new perspective is also just around the corner. So happy solar eclipse, my friends. Let me know in the comments how you feel, what is this eclipse triggering in your chart, and I would love to answer also your questions. For more information, including free tutorials, you can go to marsstars.net and find the abundance of information and knowledge there. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure, as always, and I will see you very soon.